excuse me, my rant for today is titled America's Dangerously Out of Balance and Needs Self-Reliance. You know, what got me thinking about this was a piece in the Financial Times. I first read this like 2 years ago and flagged it to myself as, hey, self, watch this story. 2.5 years ago, it was in 2019, December of 2019, in the Financial Times. Wan Yang and Nian Lu, writing from Beijing for the Financial Times, noted that the Chinese government had ordered, as a consequence of a law they passed in 2017, in 2019 they ordered that within 3 years, which would mean this year is the final year here, within 3 years, all government offices and public institutions must remove foreign computer equipment and software. And it's like, whoa, what's this? Well, she writes, or they write, Wan Yang and Nian Lu write for the Financial Times that this is, quote, part of a drive for China's government agencies and critical infrastructure operators to use secure and controllable technology, as enshrined in that country's cybersecurity law passed in 2017. This is not irrational. I mean, what China is doing here is something that I'm thinking a lot of countries around the world, or at least major countries like, you know, China, the United States, Russia, the European Union, are probably looking at and thinking, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't, you know, if you were, I mean, even to take countries that are friendly with each other, if, you know, if you were France or if you were Germany, you wouldn't have France running your ports, right? You know, the stuff going in and out of your country. You would want to run your ports yourself, or you wouldn't have a German telecom company running, well, you might actually running your, I struggle to get a perfect analogy here, but basically what China is saying is, we don't want any American technology in our government agencies and our government-related agencies because it's not, you know, there's a security issue there. I think, you know, from the United States' point of view, this even goes beyond security, and this is, you know, a conversation that we've been having since, frankly, Donald Trump started this conversation in 2015 in the Republican primary when he pointed out that all of the Republicans were, you know, totally down with NAFTA and CAFTA and all this free trade stuff, and that he wasn't. He took Bernie Sanders' position and Sherrod Brown's position that America should have an actual policy, an international trade policy, that we should be thinking about. You know, there's no reason to have any trade restrictions whatsoever on, you know, carved sandalwood from Thailand because there's no American industry that competes with it. But do we really want all of our computers made in China? Do we really want it so that we can't even make a car or a laptop here in the United States? Everything has to be made in China or some other country. I mean, it's not specifically about China. I'm not trying to engage in hysteria or China bashing here, and I hope that the article that I wrote today doesn't come across that way, although I can understand why it might be. But I think that, you know, what they're doing, well, as I write, that nation, China, is becoming digitally self-sufficient. And we should too. I mean, I opened the article by pointing out that I'm typing the article into a computer made in China, reading it on a screen made in China. The Wi-Fi router that's connecting me to the internet was made in China. The cable modem my internet service provider put in my house is made in China. The external keyboard of the backup drives connected to my laptop are made in China, as are the lamps, the bulbs, and most of the other appliances on my desk. The eyeglasses I'm wearing were made in China, even though it was an American doctor who wrote the prescription. And the shirt I'm wearing were made in China. The pants are from Malaysia. The shoes are from Korea. The coat I wear outside is made in China. And the one drug that I take a very low dose of a blood pressure medication, and it's made in India out of ingredients that are made in China. So China is tightening up their self-reliance. They are making themselves self-reliant. At the same time that if they were to do to us what the Arab countries, or a bunch of the Arab countries, did to us back in the 1970s, when, you know, Israel and Egypt had a war, and we took the side of Israel, and so the Arab oil boycott, you know, the Arab countries cut off our oil. And suddenly, I mean, this just blew up in our faces. This was during the tail end of the Nixon administration, as I recall. And it was, we had mile-long lines for gas. We had 20% inflation. We had like 14, 15% mortgage rates. It totally messed with our economy. You could argue that it led right to the Reagan presidency in some ways. It hurt Jerry Ford. It hurt Jimmy Carter. It took about 10 years to wash that inflation out of the system, as it were. So what if China was to say, okay, we're upset with you guys about whatever, pick a topic. Taiwan is a likely flashpoint, but it could also be, taking a position on the Uyghurs or something like that. So China says, okay, we're upset with you guys. We're going to stop exporting all goods. Now, we had a disruption in goods coming from China that lasted a few weeks as a result of, COVID outbreaks in a few Chinese ports that led to ships being stacked up at American ports as the supply chain, instead of running smoothly day after day, it got frozen for a couple of weeks and then, kind of lurched back into existence. And we had all these ships just, stranded outside our ports, bringing goods in from China. And what happened, it produced a shortage of goods, which produced inflation. Can you imagine what would happen if everything stopped? I mean, walk around a supermarket or a Walmart. Actually, don't right now with Omicron. but if you were to walk around, you know what I'm talking about. If you walk around Walmart or even, browse around Amazon, it's like at least half the stuff that is sold in the United States, and probably a whole lot more is made in China. The vast majority of stuff, generally speaking, sold in the United States is made overseas. Let's make this more general. And so, what I'm saying is that it's time to have, rather than this jingoistic, oh, China's bad kind of BS that Donald Trump fed us, where he was basically using trade as a way to try to, beat up one country and make them the bad guys. I think that what we need, just like we need a comprehensive immigration policy, we need a top to bottom reform of our immigration policies. We also need a comprehensive trade policy. A trade policy that says what is in the interest of the United States. Not to screw anybody else, not to mess with other countries, but what is in the interest of the United States. And we haven't had that trade policy since the Reagan years. Reagan was the one who fully embraced this whole neoliberal idea of free trade. And his business buddies loved it because, hey, 30-cent an hour labor in China, $1 an hour labor in Mexico, no more unions, no more OSHA, no more pensions. Hey, we're good with that. And here we are. And it's a mess.